The sky above Virelia shimmered with streaks of violet and gold. Floating towers glistened like glass in the sunlight, and energy bridges connected every level of the capital city. The people of Virelia moved with grace and purpose, their movements precise, almost like a dance. Princess Lyra walked through the grand corridors of the palace, her mind heavy with worry. She was the heir to the throne, trained in diplomacy, strategy, and combat. Yet there was one thing she could not control: her fear of humans. Legends told of humans as reckless, violent, and unpredictable. They had fought in wars across galaxies, leaving chaos wherever they went. Most Virelians never met a human, but the stories were enough to instill caution, even fear. And now one of them had been sent, not as an ambassador but as her protector. Kale's shuttle landed on the palace platform with a soft hum. The craft's metal surface gleamed under Virelia's twin suns, its shape unfamiliar and angular, compared to the elegant architecture around it. Guards lined the platform, their weapons ready, though their faces showed curiosity rather than fear. The shuttle's hatch opened and a man stepped out. Kyle was tall, with broad shoulders and steady eyes. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, and his uniform was simple but functional, marked with the insignia of the Interstellar Alliance. He walked with confidence, yet his movements were careful, as if he understood the eyes watching him. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony above, her heart racing. She had prepared herself for many things: a diplomatic mission, a political scandal, even a small skirmish, but never for the arrival of a human warrior in her palace. She narrowed her eyes, studying him. He seemed calm, unshaken by the presence of alien guards or the grandeur of the palace. That, she admitted quietly to herself, was impressive. The chief counselor approached her. "Your Highness," he said in a measured tone, "the human warrior has arrived. He is to serve as your protector, as agreed by the Interstellar Alliance." Lyra nodded, though unease prickled in her chest. "Very well," she replied, her voice steady. "Send him to the reception hall." Kyle was guided inside. The palace interior was unlike anything he had seen before. Walls glowed faintly with energy, and the floors seemed to float slightly above the ground. Statues of past Virelian rulers lined the halls, each one carved with intricate details that told stories of bravery and honor. He walked slowly, taking in the surroundings with quiet respect. Finally, he entered the grand reception hall. Lyra stood at the far end, her posture straight, her gaze sharp. The room was filled with Virelian nobles, all watching this meeting with anticipation. Kyle bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned from human tradition, adapted for interstellar diplomacy. "Princess Lyra," he said, his voice calm but strong. "I am Kale, sent by the Alliance to serve as your protector. I do not come to command or to interfere, only to guard you against threats." Lyra's eyes flickered, a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "You are human," she stated plainly, "and humans are difficult to trust." Kale nodded, understanding her caution. "I understand. I will earn your trust through my actions, not my words," the council murmured quietly. Some were impressed by Kale's composure, others skeptical of a human serving a Virelian princess. Lyra, however, felt a small spark of unease. His presence was both reassuring and frightening, a reminder of the power humans could wield. Days passed as Kale settled into the palace. Lyra observed him closely, testing his reactions in small ways. She noticed how he responded calmly to emergencies, how he studied the palace layout, and how he treated the guards with respect. Still, she could not fully shake her fear. There was something about humans that she could not predict. One evening, Lyra decided to test him further. She led him to the floating gardens, a place where danger was minimal, but the scenery breathtaking. Streams of glowing water wound around alien flowers that shimmered in soft light. "Human," she said, her tone almost teasing, "you claim to protect me. Let us see how well you know danger. What would you do if someone tried to harm me in these gardens?" Kale looked around, his eyes scanning the environment carefully. I would first ensure your safety by moving you to a secure location, he replied. Then I would identify the threat and neutralize it without causing harm to innocent bystanders. If necessary, I would adapt my strategy to the environment. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You speak well, but words are easy. Actions matter. Before Cale could respond, a small explosion shook the gardens. Smoke rose from the far side and strange mechanical creatures emerged, moving quickly toward them. Lyra's eyes widened. This was no training exercise. Cale acted immediately. He positioned himself between Lyra and the creatures, drawing a compact energy weapon from his belt. The creatures lunged, but Cale's aim was precise. One by one, they fell, sparks flying as his weapon discharged. Lyra was both terrified and amazed. She had seen palace guards fight before, but none had the precision, speed, or calm that Cale displayed. Within moments, the threat was neutralized. Cale lowered his weapon and turned to her. Are you unharmed, Princess? He asked. Lyra nodded, her hands trembling slightly. Yes, thanks to you. Kyle gave a small, respectful bow. It is my duty. For the first time, Lyra felt a shift in her perception. Humans were not just unpredictable destroyers, as legend suggested. They were capable of loyalty, intelligence, and courage beyond what most Virelians could imagine. That night, as the stars of Virelia's twin moons twinkled outside her window, Lyra could not sleep. She thought about Cale, his calm demeanor, his bravery, and the way he seemed to anticipate danger. Fear still lingered, but curiosity began to grow. Could she learn to trust a human? Could she allow him to be more than just a bodyguard? Meanwhile, Cale stood on the balcony looking at the city below. He understood the weight of his responsibility. Protecting the princess would not be easy. Virelia was full of political intrigue, hidden dangers, and ancient enemies. Yet he did not hesitate. He was trained for this, yes, but more than that, he believed in the value of life, in the strength of humans and aliens working together. A faint sound drew his attention. From the shadows of the palace, Cale noticed movement. Subtle, careful, deliberate. Someone or something was watching the princess. His instincts sharpened. This was no ordinary night. The palace held secrets, and Cale knew he had to uncover them before they became threats. Lyra, in her chambers, felt a strange sense of safety despite her fear. She had always faced challenges, but never one like this. A human warrior, chosen by fate and by the Interstellar Alliance, was now her protector. The stories she had heard of humans could not capture the complexity she now faced. As the hours passed, the palace seemed peaceful, yet Cale remained alert. He moved silently through the halls, observing, listening, preparing. The princess's fear was not unfounded, but perhaps it could be transformed into trust, and that trust, he knew, could change everything, not just for her but for the future of Virelia and the alliance between worlds. By dawn, Cale had uncovered subtle signs of something troubling, traces of unusual energy patterns, faint markings near the palace entrances, and subtle indications that someone had been inside without permission. The threat was real, though its source remained hidden. When Lyra awoke, she found Cale waiting outside her chambers. "Princess," he said calmly, "I have detected unusual activity. You are safe for now, but I will need to investigate further. Trust me, we will uncover the source." Lyra studied him for a long moment. His eyes were steady, his voice unwavering, and for the first time she felt a flicker of confidence rather than fear. Perhaps humans were not so unpredictable after all. Perhaps this human warrior was exactly what she and Virelia needed. The day ahead promised challenges, but for the first time in her life, Princess Lyra did not feel entirely alone. The morning sun bathed Virelia in soft golden light. The palace towers shimmered, reflecting off the floating bridges, while the twin moons in the sky faded into distant memory. Princess Lyra moved through the corridors with a careful grace, her mind still occupied by the events of the previous night. The garden attack had shaken her, yet a strange sense of curiosity had begun to replace her fear. Cale had already begun his rounds. He walked silently through the halls, examining locks, security systems, and patrol routes. Though his human eyes could not see the energy barriers as clearly as the Varelians, he noticed patterns and weaknesses that most aliens overlooked. This was not arrogance, it was instinct, honed through years of training, observation, and experience. Lyra approached him in the main hall. Her violet eyes were sharp, yet her posture hinted at caution. "Human," she said. "Do you believe that last night was a warning or simply a coincidence?" Kale met her gaze. "I do not believe in coincidences, Princess. Someone, or something, was testing us. The attack was precise, controlled, and meant to provoke fear. It was not random." Lyra considered his words. Humans were direct, logical, and often blunt, unlike Varelians who spoke in layers of diplomacy. Yet there was clarity in Kale's voice that she found reassuring. Perhaps she had judged humans too harshly. "Very well," she said. "Then let us see how well you understand danger. If you are truly my protector, you must be prepared to act at any moment." Kyle inclined his head. "I am prepared. Lead the way, Princess." They entered the palace gardens, a sprawling expanse of floating platforms, glowing plants, and shimmering streams. The place was beautiful, yet Kyle sensed its vulnerabilities. From hidden corners to floating bridges, he noted areas where an ambush could occur. Lyra smiled faintly. "Observe and learn, human. These gardens are a sanctuary, yet even here danger may hide." Before Kale could respond, a sudden vibration rippled through the ground. The energy shields around the garden flickered, and from the shadows emerged a group of mechanized drones. Their metallic limbs clicked as they advanced, scanning for targets. Lyra's eyes widened, but she did not move. Instead, she watched Kale carefully. This was his test, yes, but also hers. Could she trust him? Could she allow a human to defend her in the open gardens, away from the palace walls? Kale did not hesitate. He moved between Lyra and the approaching drones, raising his energy weapon with practiced ease. "Princess, stay behind me," he instructed calmly. Lyra obeyed, yet she observed every move. Kale's aim was flawless. Each shot disabled a drone's sensors or destroyed its circuits without excessive force. His movements were fluid, a combination of human instinct and careful calculation. When the last drone fell, Lyra exhaled, realizing her fear had been replaced by awe. You are skilled," she admitted. Kale lowered his weapon. "I protect life, Princess. Not for glory, but because it is my duty." The council had often warned her about humans' recklessness, yet Kale's actions defied every story she had heard. He was not violent for the sake of violence. He was disciplined, patient, and observant. Later that day, Kale accompanied Lyra to the palace archives. Ancient holograms and data crystals floated in the air, recording centuries of Varelian history. Kale was fascinated. Though humans had explored many worlds, Varelia's civilization was older than most human records. "Your people are remarkable," Kale said quietly. "Your history, your technology, your culture. It is unlike anything I have ever seen." Lyra watched him, sensing genuine respect. "And yet," she said, "humans are considered dangerous. How do you reconcile that with what you see now?" Kyle paused, thinking. Every species has the capacity for both creation and destruction. Humans have been feared because of our power, but fear does not define us. Action defines us. Choice defines us. Lyra considered his words. Perhaps that was what frightened her most, the unpredictable choices of humans. And yet Kale's choices had proven consistent, honorable, and brave. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent message from the palace sensors. Another attack, this time on the city outskirts. The rogue faction was testing the princess again, trying to draw Kale out into the open. Lyra's eyes sharpened. "It seems our tests are not over. Will you accompany me, human?" Kyle nodded. "Always, Princess." They moved swiftly, the palace gates opening as they passed. Lyra rode a hovercar, Kale standing beside her, scanning the surroundings. The city below was a mixture of glowing towers. floating streets and energy barriers. Smoke rose in the distance, signaling the location of the attack. When they arrived, Kale assessed the situation quickly. A group of mercenary drones had cornered a transport carrying Virelian civilians. Lyra's first instinct was to command her guards, but Kale placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Observe first," he said. "We will act strategically." Lyra swallowed her pride but obeyed. She watched as Kale moved with precision, directing guards, positioning civilians, and creating safe paths. His human instincts combined with tactical intelligence allowed them to neutralize the threat with minimal damage. Once the last mercenary drone was disabled, Lyra approached Kale. "You saved them. All of them." Kale gave a small nod. "Life is precious, Princess. Protecting it is my duty, whether human or alien." For the first time, Lyra felt a shift within herself. Fear was not gone, but it had lessened. Respect and trust began to replace her hesitation. Humans, she realized, were more than legends. They were capable of courage, strategy, and honor. That evening, Kale and Lyra returned to the palace, exhausted but vigilant. The city was safe for now, but the rogue faction had proven they were organized, intelligent, and dangerous. Lyra knew that her protection required more than skill. It required understanding, cooperation, and trust. As they walked through the gardens again, Lyra spoke softly. "Kale, do you ever doubt yourself? Humans are unpredictable. Can you always make the right choice?" Kale looked at her, his gaze steady. "Princess, doubt is natural, but we act with knowledge, observation, and care. I will not claim to be perfect, but I will always strive to protect those in my charge." Lyra considered this. Perhaps her fear of humans was born from stories, not reality. Perhaps a human, if chosen wisely, could be a true ally. And in Kyle, she saw the potential for more than just protection. She saw understanding, courage, and a bond that could grow stronger with each challenge. Later, as Lyra retired to her chambers, she could not sleep. The city outside was calm, but her mind replayed the day's events. Kale's bravery, calmness, and respect had challenged everything she had believed about humans. She realized that fear was not a weakness, it was an opportunity to learn, to grow, and perhaps to trust. Kale, on the other hand, remained alert. He moved silently through the palace corridors, noting subtle disturbances. Faint energy signatures, minor structural anomalies, and traces of unauthorized access. The rogue faction was clever, but they underestimated him. He would uncover their plans before they could harm the princess. In the quiet of the night, both human and princess understood one thing. Their journey was only beginning. Challenges awaited them beyond palace walls, in the heart of the city, and even within the palace itself. But together they would face these trials, combining human ingenuity and Virelian skill in ways neither world had seen before. By dawn, a sense of cautious optimism filled the palace. Lyra had survived another test, and Kale had proven his worth. Trust, though fragile, had begun to take root, and somewhere in the shadows the rogue faction watched, unaware that their carefully laid plans were being unraveled by the very protector they sought to challenge. The city of Virelia sparkled beneath the morning sun, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the promise of cooperation between worlds. And in the palace, the princess and her human warrior prepared for the trials yet to come. Trials that would test not just their strength, but their courage, intelligence, and the bonds of trust between species. The adventure had only just begun. The floating city of Virelia seemed peaceful in the early morning light, but the calm was deceptive. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony, watching the horizon, her mind heavy with concern. The rogue faction had shown their cunning, and their attacks had grown bolder. Kale, the human warrior assigned to protect her, joined her silently, his presence both reassuring and commanding. "Princess," Kale said, his voice calm, "the attacks are increasing. We cannot wait for them to come to us. We must take action before the situation worsens." Lyra nodded, her violet eyes determined. "You are right. We must leave the palace and investigate, but it will be dangerous. Are you prepared? Kale smiled faintly. I am always prepared, Princess, and I will not leave your side. With the city still waking, they departed the palace in a hovercar, Kale guiding their path through the floating streets with precision. Below them, citizens moved carefully around energy barriers and glowing bridges, unaware of the danger looming nearby. Their destination was the outskirts of Virelia, where sensors had detected unusual energy patterns. The terrain outside the city was wild and untamed. Floating cliffs rose sharply, connected by narrow bridges of shimmering energy. Alien flora glowed faintly in the dim light, and the wind carried strange melodic whispers. It was beautiful, but Kale remained alert, scanning for any sign of ambush or danger. Lyra, sitting beside him, watched quietly. She had faced battles before, but never in such unpredictable terrain. Kale's calm demeanor gave her confidence, yet she could feel the tension in the air, the sense that every shadow could conceal a threat. As they reached the edge of the cliffs, a low hum echoed through the air. Strange insect-like creatures with metallic wings and glowing eyes emerged from the foliage. They moved quickly, coordinated, and clearly intended to block their path. Stay close, Kyle instructed. He leapt from the hovercar, drawing his energy weapon. His movements were precise, every step calculated. He disabled the first creature with a single shot, then moved to shield Lyra as the others advanced. Lyra's heart pounded, yet she did not hesitate. She drew her own short blade, trained in Virelian combat techniques, and assisted Kale where she could. Together, human and princess fought as a single unit, Kale's tactical skill complemented by Lyra's agility and knowledge of the terrain. After several tense minutes, the creatures were defeated. Lyra exhaled, impressed by Kale's ability to anticipate their movements. You think so quickly, she said, panting. I have never seen such skill. Kale gave a faint nod. Observing and adapting is key, Princess. In battle, hesitation can be deadly. But courage and trust, those are even more important. They continued their journey, navigating treacherous cliffs, alien forests, and hidden caves. Along the way, they discovered signs that the rogue faction had been here before. Broken energy barriers, traces of their technology, and symbols etched into stone. Someone is guiding them, Lyra said thoughtfully. They are organized, intelligent. This is no simple attack, it is a coordinated effort. Kale examined the markings. Agreed. And whoever is behind this wants more than chaos. They want control. We must uncover their leader before they strike again. Their path led them to a massive chasm, its depths shrouded in mist. A narrow bridge of glowing energy stretched across, unstable but traversable. Lyra hesitated. This bridge, it is dangerous. If we fall, Kyle placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will not fall. Trust me, Princess. One step at a time. Together they crossed, Lyra following Kale's lead. Every step required focus, and the wind threatened to push them off balance. But Kale's steady guidance allowed her to move with confidence, and by the time they reached the other side, her fear had transformed into respect and trust. Beyond the chasm lay an ancient ruin, half buried in alien vegetation. The air was thick with energy, and faint whispers seemed to emanate from the stones themselves. Kale examined the area carefully. This place, it has been used recently. The rogue faction may have set up a base here. Lyra stepped forward, her senses alert. We must be cautious, they may be expecting us. As they explored the ruins, they discovered evidence of advanced technology mixed with alien architecture. Strange machines hummed quietly, some active, others dormant. Kale's human instincts allowed him to quickly assess the threat level. They have been experimenting, Kale said. These machines are designed for surveillance and attack. If we are not careful, they could trap us. Lyra nodded, her mind racing. Then we must strike smartly, not recklessly. We cannot let them lead us into a trap. Their caution paid off. Hidden turrets activated suddenly, targeting them. But Kale's quick reflexes and strategic thinking allowed them to disable the devices before harm could come to either of them. Lyra marveled at his ability to adapt in real time, combining human ingenuity with careful observation. As night fell, they made camp in a sheltered cave. The stars of Virelia's twin moons cast a soft glow over the landscape. Lyra studied Kyle as he checked their surroundings. She had faced many challenges in her life, yet she had never felt as safe and protected as she did with him. "Kale," she said softly, "you are different from what I expected. I feared humans, yet you—" She paused, unsure of how to express her thoughts. "You are brave, calm, and honorable." Kyle glanced at her, his expression unreadable but kind. "Princess, fear is natural. It teaches us caution. But courage, trust, and understanding, those define us more than fear ever could." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of admiration and gratitude. She realized that her initial fear of humans had been based on stories and legends, not reality. Kale's actions had proven that humans were capable of honor, loyalty, and bravery beyond what most Virelians could imagine. The next morning, they continued their journey. The rogue faction had left more clues: holographic maps, energy traces, and scattered notes. It became clear that their enemies were planning something larger than attacks. They were targeting the princess herself, attempting to destabilize the royal family. Kyle examined the evidence carefully. "This is bigger than we thought," he said. "They are well organized and they understand your importance, princess. We must act before they strike again." Lyra nodded, her resolve firm. "Then we must stop them, not just for me, but for Virelia." As they advanced deeper into the alien landscape, they encountered more hazards: treacherous cliffs, strange wildlife, and environmental traps designed to slow intruders. Yet with Kale's guidance and Lyra's skill, they overcame every challenge. Each obstacle strengthened their bond, transforming fear into trust and respect. By evening, they reached a high vantage point overlooking the ruins of an abandoned city. The rogue faction's activity was visible below: small energy flares, patrols moving in patterns, and signs of ongoing construction. Kale studied the scene carefully. "They are preparing for something," he said. "Perhaps an attack on the city or an attempt to capture you. Either way, we cannot wait. We must confront them before they strike." Lyra's heart raced, but she felt a strange calm. She had faced danger before, but never like this. With a human warrior by her side, guiding, protecting, and fighting alongside her. The bond between them had grown stronger with every step, every battle, and every shared challenge. "We will confront them together," she said, "and we will succeed. Are you ready, Kyle?" Kyle gave a faint nod, his eyes steady. "Always, princess, let us face this challenge not as alien and human, but as allies united by purpose." As night descended, they prepared for the confrontation. The rogue faction was clever, their plans complex, and the danger real. Yet Kyle and Lyra stood together, ready to face whatever awaited them. The journey beyond the palace had tested their courage, their skill, and their trust in one another. And though the greatest challenges were yet to come, they had already proven something important. Humans and Virelians, working together, were a force capable of overcoming any obstacle. Above them, the stars of Virelia's twin moons shone brightly, casting a protective glow over the two allies. Their path was dangerous, the enemy cunning, but hope, courage, and determination guided them forward. And so, human and princess continued their journey into the unknown, ready to face the threats that lay beyond the palace walls. Threats that would test not only their strength but their bond, their intelligence, and their courage. The adventure was far from over, but one thing was certain: together they were unstoppable. The palace of Virelia gleamed under the twin suns, but the peace was shattered by the hum of alarms and flashing warning lights. From her balcony, Princess Lyra could see dark shapes moving across the floating city, rogue drones and mercenaries, coordinated and moving with purpose. The rogue faction had struck, and this time their target was clear: the palace and the princess herself. Kale stood beside her, calm but alert. His human instincts were sharp, and his eyes scanned every angle, every shadow. "Princess," he said, his voice steady, "they are organized and determined, but we can defend the palace. Trust me." Lyra's hands clenched the balcony railing. She had trained for combat, but never against an enemy this organized, this relentless. And yet, standing beside Kale, she felt a strange calm. His presence, his confidence, and his skill gave her hope. The first wave of attackers reached the palace gates. Kyle moved with precision, coordinating the palace guards and deploying defensive energy barriers. His human ingenuity combined with Varelian technology created an unexpected advantage. Drones that should have overrun the defenses were neutralized one by one. Lyra watched, her fear slowly transforming into determination. She drew her blade, stepping forward to inspire the guards. "Hold your ground," she commanded. "Protect. The palace, protect Virelia." The palace halls echoed with the clash of energy weapons, the hum of flying drones, and the shouts of guards. Kyle led a squad of defenders, his movements fluid, precise, and fearless. He anticipated enemy attacks, adapting quickly to their tactics, and using both human strategy and alien technology to gain the upper hand. Despite the chaos, Kale's focus remained on Lyra. He guided her through the battlefield, covering her, protecting her from attacks that came too quickly to see. Every time a drone lunged, he was there, blocking, deflecting, or disabling it with skill and calm precision. Lyra's own bravery surprised her. She had always believed her strength came from training, but this battle taught her that courage came from trust and purpose. Standing beside Kale, she felt a bond forming, a bond of allies united against a common enemy. The attackers escalated, deploying larger drones and more advanced machines. Kale and Lyra faced wave after wave, pushing back the enemy while minimizing harm to the palace and its inhabitants. The city below watched in awe as the human warrior led the defense with courage and intelligence beyond what any Varelian had expected. "Kyle!" Lyra shouted over the noise. "There are civilians trapped in the East Wing. We must save them." Kyle nodded. "Stay close, Princess. Follow my lead." They moved through the palace corridors, navigating debris and activating emergency shields to protect the trapped citizens. Kyle's strategy was flawless. He directed guards to evacuate civilians, neutralized enemy machines with precise shots, and coordinated escape routes. Lyra assisted, guiding citizens and fighting off any drones that came too close. As they reached the East Wing, Kale noticed something troubling. "Princess, the attacks are too well coordinated. Someone inside the palace is guiding them." Lyra's eyes widened. "A traitor?" she whispered. Kale's gaze hardened. "Yes, and we must uncover them. But first we ensure everyone is safe." Working together, they led the civilians to safety. Lyra's leadership inspired the guards and citizens alike, while Kale's skill ensured no one was harmed. By the time the East Wing was secure, the palace defenders had regained some control of the battlefield. But the mastermind behind the attack remained hidden, observing, planning. Kale sensed it. A subtle shift in energy, a pattern too deliberate to be random. "They are watching, Princess. Someone powerful is directing this attack." Lyra nodded. "Then we will confront them. Together." As they advanced toward the central tower, the rogue faction escalated again, deploying energy cannons and heavily armed drones. Kyle analyzed the situation quickly. "We need to divide their forces. I will take the drones. You lead the defenders to protect the palace core." Lyra hesitated for a moment, then trusted him. "Go, Kale. We will follow your plan." Kale moved like a shadow, disabling drones with calculated strikes, using their own momentum against them. His human reflexes and tactical mind allowed him to anticipate their moves before they could attack. Lyra coordinated the palace defenders using her knowledge of Varelian technology and terrain to block enemy advances. The battle raged for hours. The palace trembled under the assault, yet Kale and Lyra stood firm, their courage unbroken. Guards and citizens alike drew inspiration from their bravery, fighting with renewed determination. During a brief lull, Lyra caught her breath and observed Cale. "You are incredible," she said softly. "I feared humans, but you are more than I imagined." Cale gave a faint smile. "Fear is natural, Princess, but courage, trust, and action define us more than fear ever could." Suddenly, alarms blared again. Cale's sensors detected an anomaly, a hidden passage in the palace core previously unnoticed. "Princess, come with me. This may be where the mastermind is hiding." Lyra followed, her heart pounding with anticipation. They navigated narrow corridors, avoiding traps and disabled drones. Every step brought them closer to the heart of the conspiracy. At last, they reached the inner chamber. The mastermind, a trusted council member cloaked in shadows, stood before them. Energy barriers surrounded him and he smirked confidently. "You are too late, Princess. The palace will fall, and Virelia will be mine." Kyle stepped forward, his energy weapon raised. "Not while I stand here. Your plans end now." The battle was intense. The council member deployed energy shields, attacking with precision and speed. Kyle adapted quickly, analyzing weaknesses in the defenses, striking with calculated efficiency. Lyra assisted, using her blade and knowledge of palace architecture to create openings for Cale. Finally, with a combination of human ingenuity and Virelian skill, they disabled the council members' defenses. Lyra struck a decisive blow, disarming him, while Kyle restrained him. The mastermind's smug expression vanished, replaced by disbelief. "It is over," Kyle said calmly. "Virelia is safe." Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. The battle had been fierce, but they had prevailed. The rogue faction's leader was captured, and their plans thwarted. The palace celebrated their victory. Guards and citizens alike praised Cale for his bravery and intelligence, while Lyra was recognized for her leadership and courage. Yet, amidst the celebration, Lyra felt a quiet sense of gratitude toward the human warrior who had changed everything. Later, in the quiet of the evening, Lyra and Cale stood on the balcony once more. The city below sparkled, its towers reflecting the last light of the twin suns. "You have proven yourself, Cale," Lyra said softly. "Not just as a warrior, but as someone I can trust. I feared humans, but you have shown me that courage, honor, and loyalty know no species." Cale inclined, his head, his expression humble. "Thank you, Princess. It is an honor to serve and protect you. Together we can face any challenge." Lyra nodded, a sense of calm settling over her. The battle had tested them, their courage and their trust in one another. And though threats still lingered, she knew they were stronger together, human and princess united by purpose, courage, and respect. As night fell over Virelia, Cale and Lyra looked out over the city, knowing that this victory was only the beginning. The rogue faction was still out there and greater challenges awaited. Yet for the first time the princess felt confident, not just in herself, but in the human warrior at her side. The palace was safe, the mastermind captured, and the city's people inspired by the bravery of their protectors. But more importantly, Lyra had discovered something profound. Humans were not to be feared. They were to be respected, trusted, and, in the right circumstances, admired. And Cale had proven that a human, working alongside a Virelian, could achieve greatness beyond legend, facing impossible odds and protecting what was most precious. The journey was far from over, but the bond between human and princess had been forged in the heat of battle. Together they were unstoppable, a force capable of facing any threat that dared to challenge Virelia's future. The twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light over the palace. Kyle and Lyra stood side by side, ready for whatever came next, their courage unbroken, their trust unshakable, and their bond stronger than any danger the universe could throw at them. The adventure had reached a turning point, and the greatest challenges were yet to come. but they would face them together, human and princess, allies bound by purpose, honor, and the promise of a brighter future. The twin moons of Virelia cast their silver glow across the floating city as Princess Lyra and Kale prepared for the final confrontation. The rogue faction had retreated after their failed palace attack, but intelligence gathered by Kale suggested they were regrouping in a hidden base on the outskirts of the planet. This base was heavily fortified with advanced defenses and cunning traps designed to stop anyone who dared approach. Lyra adjusted the straps of her armor, her violet eyes steady and determined. She had grown stronger over the past days, learning from Kale, facing dangers that tested her courage and discovering the value of trust. Fear still lingered, but now it was tempered by confidence. She knew that with Kale at her side, they could overcome even the most impossible odds. Kale checked their equipment one last time. His human instincts scanned for weaknesses, assessing the terrain, the potential threats, and the best approach. "Princess," he said calmly, "we must move carefully. The rogue faction expects us, but if we use strategy and patience, we can confront them before they act again." Lyra nodded. "Then we move together. Lead the way, Kyle." The journey to the hidden base was perilous. They traversed jagged cliffs, crossed energy bridges suspended over deep chasms, and navigated dense alien forests. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, and environmental hazards tested their every step. Kale's quick thinking and Lyra's knowledge of alien terrain allowed them to overcome each obstacle. Along the way, Kale observed Lyra closely. He had seen her courage grow steadily, her decisions, her bravery, and her ability to inspire others. It impressed him. She was no ordinary princess. She was a leader capable of facing immense danger, yet humble and compassionate enough to value every life she protected. As they neared the base, the signs of enemy activity became clear. Faint energy signatures, unusual sounds, and small patrols guarding the perimeter. Kale crouched, analyzing their positions. "We need to move quietly, Princess. Any noise could alert them." Lyra nodded, following his lead. Together, human and princess advanced like shadows, avoiding detection, disabling traps, and neutralizing isolated guards with precision. Every action was calculated, every step deliberate. Their teamwork was seamless, a combination of human ingenuity and Virelian skill. Finally, they reached the central chamber of the base, the heart of the rogue faction's operations. The doors were massive, reinforced with energy barriers and layered security. Kyle assessed the situation carefully. "These barriers are strong but not invincible. We can disable them if we act in sequence." Lyra watched in admiration as Kale worked. His human training, combined with adaptability and quick thinking, allowed them to bypass defenses that would have stumped most Virelians. Within moments, the doors opened, revealing the inner chamber. Inside, the mastermind awaited. Another council member, previously hidden, surrounded by loyal faction members. They had fortified the room with energy weapons and drones, confident that no one could challenge them. Kyle stepped forward, his weapon ready. "It ends here," he declared. "You will not harm the princess or Virelia." The battle erupted immediately. Drones lunged forward, firing energy beams, while the rogue faction members advanced with precision. Kyle moved swiftly, disabling drones with careful shots, using their momentum against them. Lyra fought alongside him, her blade precise and deadly, guiding her attacks with strategy and grace. Despite the odds, Kale remained calm. He anticipated the enemy's moves, adapting quickly, using his human ingenuity to outsmart them. Lyra mirrored his actions, learning from him in real time, her trust in him complete. Together they were unstoppable, a perfect blend of human and Virelian skill. As the battle raged, Lyra noticed the mastermind trying to escape through a hidden passage. "Kale!" she shouted. "He's trying to flee!" Kale nodded, his eyes focused. "We cannot let him get away. Cover me." Lyra blocked the escape route, her presence preventing the mastermind from slipping into the shadows. Kale advanced with precise steps, neutralizing the remaining drones and confronting the mastermind directly. The rogue council member sneered, underestimating Kale's abilities. You may be clever, human, he spat, but you cannot defeat me. Kale's expression was calm, but his actions were swift. He disabled the council members' defenses using strategy, speed, and skill rather than reckless force. Lyra stepped forward, her blade poised, ready to strike if necessary. Together they cornered him. It is over, Kale said firmly. Your plans have failed. Virelia is safe. The mastermind's eyes widened in disbelief. He had underestimated the combined power of human and Virelian teamwork. With no escape and no remaining defenses, he surrendered. Kale restrained him while Lyra secured the chamber. Outside, the rogue faction's remaining members had fled, their plans dismantled. The hidden base was neutralized, its threat eliminated. Virelia was safe once again, thanks to courage, strategy, and the bond between human and princess. Lyra exhaled, relief washing over her. She turned to Kyle, her eyes filled with gratitude. You have saved not just me, but all of Virelia. I feared humans, yet you have proven that courage, loyalty, and honor are not limited to any species. Kale inclined his head. Thank you, Princess. It is my duty to protect life, no matter the form it takes. Trust and cooperation can achieve what fear alone cannot. Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of calm and confidence she had never experienced before. She realized that her fear had been transformed into respect, trust, and admiration. Humans were not unpredictable monsters, as the legends claimed. They were capable of bravery, intelligence, and loyalty beyond measure. The journey back to the palace was quiet. The city below bathed in the soft light of dawn. Citizens cheered as they learned of the rogue faction's defeat, inspired by the bravery of their protectors. Kale and Lyra moved through the streets, acknowledging the gratitude of the people without pause, their focus on ensuring complete safety. Once inside the palace, Lyra and Kale stood together in the grand hall, the weight of the recent battles settling around them. The council members expressed their admiration for Kale, praising his skill, courage, and human ingenuity. Lyra, however, knew that this victory was more than just strategy. It was the trust and bond they had forged through danger, challenges, and shared purpose. You have changed my view of humans, Lyra said quietly, standing beside Kale. I feared your people, yet you have shown me what they can be. Allies, protectors, and heroes. Kale's expression was calm, but sincere. Princess, fear is natural, but courage and trust define us more than fear ever could. Together we can face anything. Lyra nodded. She realized that the events of the past days had not only saved Virelia, but also transformed her understanding of humans. Kale's actions had demonstrated that strength was not defined by species but by courage, intelligence, and the choices one made. The city celebrated their victory, and the palace held a ceremony honoring Kale as a hero. Lyra, standing beside him, felt a deep sense of gratitude and respect. She had faced her fear, embraced trust, and discovered that humans, when guided by honor and loyalty, could achieve greatness. As night fell, Lyra and Kale returned to the palace balcony. The twin moons reflected on the shimmering towers, casting a serene glow over the city. Lyra looked at Kale, a quiet smile on her face. Thank you, Kale, she said softly. Not just for protecting me, but for teaching me that courage, trust, and friendship can come from any world. Kale inclined his head, his eyes steady. It has been an honor, Princess. The galaxy is vast and challenges are many, but together, humans and Virelians can face anything. Lyra's gaze shifted to the stars above. She felt a sense of hope and determination. The rogue faction had been defeated, the palace secured, and Virelia's future protected. But more importantly, a new alliance had been forged. Not just between species, but between hearts and minds, united by courage, trust, and respect. Kyle and Lyra stood side by side, looking over the city they had saved. The journey had been dangerous, the battles fierce, but together they had triumphed. The princess had faced her fear, and the human warrior had proven the strength of humanity. The twin moons of Viralia shone brightly, a symbol of hope, unity, and the promise of a future where humans and Virelians could work together to overcome any threat. Lyra knew that this was only the beginning of their story. Adventures, challenges, and discoveries awaited them beyond the stars. Yet for now, peace had returned. The palace was safe, the citizens were protected, and the rogue factions' plans were dismantled. Lyra had learned the value of trust. Kale had proven the power of human ingenuity, and together, they had forged a bond that would endure beyond any danger. As the night deepened, the princess and her human protector remained, vigilant but content. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but they had faced one of the greatest threats together, and emerged victorious. The adventure had ended for now, but the legend of the human warrior and the Virelian princess would be remembered for generations. And as the twin moons cast their silver light across the palace, Lyra knew one thing with certainty. Humans were not to be feared. They were to be trusted, respected, and admired. Together, human and princess, they had triumphed, and their story had only just begun.